Hello again, magical people. In this video, we're going to take a look at divination in theory and in practice. Divination has been a core spiritual tool in nearly every magical tradition in history and universally across cultures. Most systems encourage the beginner to take up a divinatory practice as the first step on the magical path. Many of you were likely introduced to the reality of magic through practicing divination. For me, getting a deck of tarot cards when I was 11, the James Bond 007 tarot deck, was the gateway drug. But what exactly is divination? How does it work? In magic and divination, what matters is not how it works, but does it work? And is it useful? And I can say conclusively, and based on 30 years of practical experience reading tarot professionally for hundreds of strangers, divination most definitely works, and it can be extraordinarily useful and helpful. And not just useful and helpful for yourself. Once you become comfortable and experienced at divination, you can and should use the practice to help others too. Across all cultures and throughout human history, people have sought out diviners. Sadly, the noble art of divination has been coarsened and cheapened in popular culture by being labeled fortune-telling. But in the ancient world, as in many cultures today, divination is not only about the future. The word derives from Latin, where it is better defined as attempting to know the minds of the gods, so that one acts in accordance with their guidance. Among the Pythagorean theurgists, like Iamblichus, divination allowed the magician to tap into the realm of the divine, where past, present, and future were all simultaneous, a concept strikingly similar to how time is understood by many of today's physicists. Cross-culturally, divination is often used to find out why something happened, not just what might happen. It is commonly used to find lost objects, animals, or people, for example. I have found that divination functions as a window into my client's situation now, offering a perspective on the hidden or unconscious dynamics. The discovery and insight that comes from a divinatory reading results in a change in attitude or behavior that allows the client to make informed choices and decisions to create a better future. I've seen this dynamic play out again and again, and I find it far more helpful and ultimately more useful than divining to know the future, as if it is writ in stone. Also, fatalism sucks. There is a dark downside to looking at divination strictly as a means of foretelling the future, as this excerpt from the Book of English Magic explains in a discussion about tarot. Although using the tarot for prediction might at first sight seem tempting, ultimately it will sap you of your power, because it will lead you to act as if your life were determined solely by outside forces. I recently experienced a eureka moment, courtesy of Nathan Isaac, the mind behind the wildly entertaining Pennyroyal podcast. At a presentation in Nashville, he likened divination and magic to code breaking or crypto-analysis, and it was one of those instances where I felt like someone had given words to things I had been puzzling over for years. Let me explain why the metaphor struck such a resonant chord. The idea that reality is built of information is a useful metaphor for modeling how magic works, and it's a model increasingly embraced by physicists and philosophers. But rather than adopt a literal view that the universe is a vast computer simulation a la The Matrix, let's just view it as a metaphor. If we imagine a universe built of encoded information and meaning, then magic, and divination in particular, can be seen as a method of decoding reality and pulling meaning out of what looks like chaos, in much the same way as mathematicians seek to find equations for processes embedded in nature. The 16th century alchemist Paracelsus likened nature to a book and suggested that learning to read that book's language reveals great mysteries. Across the world and centuries later, Maria Sabina, the Mazatec Sabia, or Wise One, who introduced the European world to psilocybin-containing magic mushrooms, had a vision in which she was shown a book that grew to the size of a human. A being she called one of the principal ones said to her, "Maria Sabina, this is the book of wisdom. It is the book of language. Everything that is written in it is for you. The book is yours. Take it so that you can work." "That is for me," she exclaimed, overcome with emotion. "I receive it." "The principal ones disappeared and left me in front of the immense book," she said. "I knew that it was the book of wisdom. Wisdom is language. Language is in the book. The book is granted by the principal ones. The principal ones appear through the great power of the children, or los niños santos, or the mushrooms." Maria Sabina experienced what we might call a download, and later no longer needed to access the book. It was contained within her. Echoing the ancient theurgists centuries before, she explained her healing and divination as resulting from contact with the higher realm of the gods. "There is a world beyond ours, a world that is far away, near and invisible," she said. "And there is where God lives, where the dead live, the spirits and the saints, a world where everything has already happened and everything is known." I speak more about Maria Sabina and the role of psychedelics in divination and psi phenomena in my 2015 talk at American University, Putting the Magic Back in Magic Mushrooms. Check the description for the link. So if nature is a book, then learning the language it is written in is the first step in reading it. If reality is built of information, then divination is how we break the code. It is how we pull coherent meaning out of the apparent chaos of our lives. Interestingly, many forms of divination are built on binary numbers, including most famously the I Ching, but also the African Ifa and the related Arabic system that spread through Europe as geomancy. Might this be a clue that the universe is similarly built of binary units of information? Did the mystics and diviners gain this insight and build divination systems to decode the binary reality around them? In cultures as diverse as China and Africa and the Middle East, is it only coincidence that the I Ching and human DNA are built on the number 64? So rather than look at divination primarily as a means of foretelling the future, we could instead view practices like the tarot, I Ching, geomancy, and other forms of divination as spiritual technologies for extracting meaning and useful information from the apparent chaos around us, as tools that enable us to learn the language of the Book of Life and to enter the realm of the gods, where past, present, and future are all available for us to explore, to find meaning and guidance on our spiritual journeys.